everyone. This is Stephanie Krubsack with the Purevant Living Women and Wellness podcast. Today I have guest Jennifer Nowicki, owner at Cultivate Taste and certified tea specialist. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you doing this for me.
Yeah, we are currently at the River Coffee and Cream in Wrightstown. It's a lovely little coffee shop on the river, so great view. It's a good choice to film here. So if you hear any coffee noises in the background, just know that we are at a coffee shop. So let's start with, how did we meet?
All right. We met it was about over a year and a half ago, close to 2 years ago, and how to grow a creative business. It was at the Hub in Green Bay area.
Yeah, that was a great class. It was, what about a month-long seminar?
I think so, yeah. We met weekly or something, if I remember right.
Yeah, we met once a week for about a month, and we had two instructors training about all the different steps of starting a business, being an entrepreneur. So it was really great. We had a really great class. I'm still friends with a lot of the people we had classes with. So
that's always a great thing, isn't
definitely,
it?
yeah. And it was at the eHub Center, which is next to the Farmery, where they have the aquaponics center, which is really cool. So
yes,
yeah, really great area. So all right, so tell us a little bit about your background.
I've been drinking tea all my life. I just remember drinking it, especially with my grandmother. She would have tea afterwards when we were from her homemade meals that she used to make from scratch. It was just a really fond memory we used to do. And then eventually, as a young adult, I became involved and discovered loose leaf teas, and I did that when I was in Seattle. And then in 2005 I enrolled in the Specialty Tea Institute in New York City, and I became immersed in the actual world of tea, and that's where I found my passion, and I became acquainted with tea estate owners, tasted teas that weren't available in the United States. That was some of the perks, and to develop the palate, and I learned from those experts, and I am the only certified tea specialist in Wisconsin, and I've been that since 2009, and I'm still pursuing the education that I have with them from the Institute.
Very cool. That's a cute story with your grandma. I know my first tea experience was with my grandmother as well. Sitting on her lap, she'd have her Lipton warm lemon tea. So, yep, definitely. So tell us more about Cultivate Taste, your business.
All right, well, Cultivate Taste, what I do is I source, I blend, and I sell loose leaf teas, both wholesale, direct to consumer, which is basically I have a physical location and online, and I strive to source organic, fair trade whenever possible, directly from the farms across China, Japan, Nepal, Thailand, Laos, India, Taiwan. And I also don't use candy, sugar, or flavorings. And flavorings is what a lot of teas, when they do blend, they use, and I do not do that. And I also use very eco-friendly packaging, because I've used that when I had my other business.
That's really great. So tell us more about the type of packaging you use that's eco-friendly.
It's basically, I like the packaging because it's simple. It is opaque, it's not clear.
Okay.
So because that will deteriorate tea.
The sunlight exposure.
Exactly.
Okay.
And exposure deteriorates the tea, so you can't see in it.
Okay.
And that's why I choose the packaging I do. I also, when I was looking for packaging, I was looking for different things, and this one seemed extremely eco-friendly. That's actually what it was stated as environmentally conscious. So it worked. It aligned with my goals and vision, so that's why I used what I used.
That's really great. So is the opaque material paper then?
There is paper, but there is a lining in to keep it fresh.
Okay, kind of like the wax lining.
There is some lining in there. I think I'm not trying to remember exactly what's in there, but it's not wax. But there is a lining in there to make sure, because obviously paper with tea, because even though there is only a small percentage that has I guess water. I can't remember if it's 6 or 7%, but there is, so that would probably eventually affect it if you didn't have a lining in between, and also keep the freshness because of the porousness of paper.
Yeah, oh, that's very true too. And I know like a lot of times when you go to like a tea shop, it's in a tin. Is that a good way to store it? Or
It can be,
Mhm.
as long as it's you can't see through it at
Okay,
all.
so it has to be fully okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Keeping out the light.
Yeah. That's actually when I did take my classes, become a certified tea. It was like one of the Tea 101 classes. The very first class is like, if you go into somewhere where it's clear, that usually means that they're more into marketing than the actual value of the
Oh,
tea.
interesting. So you can like see the actual leaves and okay,
Yeah, and
herbs.
that's so that they're not really into serious about tea. That's actually what I was told. So that's why when I go to places like that, I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be rude, but I just kind of like, okay, they like the concept of tea, and maybe but they're either new to it or it's not taken seriously.
Yeah, okay. That makes total sense. That's really great. And I know one thing too I learned about teas is that when you have like a black tea or green tea, it's about the way the leaf is processed. It's not actually a different leaf.
Nope, you can
So,
make out of the exact same leaf. You can make it white, green, black, oolong, puers. It's
so
probably,
interesting.
though you can technically do it, but it's probably going to be better. You know, there's certain type of leaves. Tea is actually very similar to wine
Okay.
in that the terroir, the weather, and all that can really change and affect the tea, and
Ah,
also the
okay.
cultivar. I mean, the type of the certain plant that you use. I can get really technical, and I don't know if this is going to interest people, but
Oh, no, I think it's very interesting.
but yeah, it's there. You know what I mean? There's certain like strawberry plants. There you have different type of strawberry plants. You know what I mean? That you can
Yeah.
grow, and
Hmm.
certain ones grow in better areas and stuff like that.
Or the soil affects it. Yeah.
Yes, and the climate, and the weather, and yeah, all that affects it. So that's why sometimes even in a same tea estate, each year the tea will be slightly different because it depends on the weather affecting it,
Interesting.
and sometimes
Yeah.
the health and the age of the plant itself.
Okay.
So, though there can be plants that are thousands of years old.
Wow.
In China, there are if they're growing wild there.
Okay. Very interesting. So, what is one environmental factor that affects the taste, you'd say, that you can really recognize in tea? Like, what makes it sweeter or more bitter? Or are there things like that that affect it? Or,
It can definitely do that. I know that when you'd have tea from Japan, because it's an island, it tends to have a little bit more of a like not like seafood, but you know what I mean.
oh,
It has
interesting. That
because
kind
of
of
the
like sea flavor.
yeah sea
Okay.
flavor to
Yeah.
it, so it just
Or
does
the
because
saltiness of
there
the.
is some of that too.
Okay. Yeah.
Though and there's also how it's processed too.
Okay. That's so neat.
So, yeah, I can. As I said, I can get really into it.
Yeah, I know. It's very interesting. We'll keep it high level. So just if you're
All right.
interested in learning more about teas or
Yeah.
yeah, it's great to know those facts. So definitely.
Yeah.
So I know with your business, you're concerned about the quality of tea, not using sugars, your eco packaging. And at one point you had a shop where you did like food as well too, and to kind of like have a whole experience. And you do kind of like tea parties and events like that too.
I did, yeah, I did do that. That was at when they had the tea parties. They were actually at my physical
Okay.
location.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to serve afternoon tea there, and actually, when I actually had my tea room, I actually somebody within the first month or two asked to have a bridal shower there.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And I end up and I'm like, yeah, sure. I know it wasn't technically in my business plan, but it aligns with what I want to do. So why wouldn't I? So I did that, and then my place there actually became known as there was a lot of bridal and baby showers that happened there.
Okay.
So
Yeah, very. Why not? You have the space and you have the healthy tea and food
it
pairs
brings
well.
people,
Yeah.
people getting together. I like that concept too. People getting together. Cause I don't know. It sounds.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And I'm sure listeners are curious about like types of tea. I know a lot of us know tea is very healthy, good alternative for caffeine to coffee because I know like black tea has equivalent to coffee. Am I
No.
or is it
Oh
more or
no.
less?
It probably almost the strongest probably tea, unless it's enhanced some other way,
Okay.
is we'll have about half.
Oh, half. Okay. Wow, that's a big difference. Okay.
I would say at the most, maybe it might be a little closer than that, but no, and no matter what, no matter how much caffeine there is in tea, there is the L-theanine, which will mean that you don't get the
L-theanine, okay.
jitters.
Oh, okay.
So it's I guess a calming uplift because
Oh,
of that.
okay. That's really good to know, actually, because I know I can't have more than 2 cups a day, then I will shake. So that's really great. It's a calming effect, but yet brings you up.
Yes.
And then does green tea have even less caffeine?
It'll have, it depends. I would say I mean, black tea tends to have probably some of the most. I would say though matcha probably does have.
Oh, matcha.
Might be
Okay.
right up there, and that's because you're ingesting the leaf itself,
Mm-hmm.
and because technically,
Oh, because it's blended up.
well, no, actually, tea has technically more caffeine than coffee,
Mm-hmm.
but during the extraction process,
Okay, yeah.
you can extract it easier and better out of coffee or the coffee beans versus out of the tea leaf.
Okay.
But ingesting the actual leaf itself would mean that you get more.
With the matcha, because they blend it up into like a
Yeah,
powder.
it's a powder. So
Okay.
I would say
Right.
that would probably actually might be the one that has the most. But I would say most, if you have a Chinese or that style where it's pan fired, it tends to have a little less caffeine than when
Oh.
you then they steam it.
Pan-fired.
It's Japanese's usual method.
Steaming it, okay, and letting it like soak or steep is probably the
Well,
correct
no,
term.
it's steamed in the process of making the tea
Oh,
itself.
before you actually, okay.
Yeah, this is in the actual processing of the tea where they steam it versus pan firing it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also with Japanese, because of the being green, is that it has a thicker liquor. I mean, when you're drinking it, it's thicker that way, and it also has the umami.
Okay.
Sorry,
No, it's very interesting. And again, just to clarify, so if I'm understanding correctly, so matcha is still green tea, but it's just the blended actual leaf itself versus
Yes.
green tea is just steeped. That you're steeping it out of the tea, right? Is that a good kind of way to just okay?
They're all green. Matcha and green tea are all green teas, but the difference with matcha is that it is.
The actual leaf ground up. And I feel like it's gained popularity more recently. Like I feel like matcha was not a thing, 5 years ago. Or not a very popular thing, I should say, available in most coffee shops. But I love it, by the way. But
I used to sell a bit of it when I have my tea room. So, but yeah, I think it depends on what area you're in, because because I know if you go on the coast and stuff like that, it's been yeah, and I've seen it used in food also.
okay. Yeah, definitely cooking with it. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that, again, you stay away from, any sugars, things like that. Do you use any dried fruit or things like that in your tea blends, or is it more the leaf itself?
I do use some dried fruit and some, I'll use different herbs, spices, and stuff like that. And some of mine also, yeah.
Okay.
Besides using the pure leaf.
Yeah, so more like spices and just natural flavorings.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
yeah. It wouldn't have a. Yeah, I don't use any. The only one that I use in oil is my Earl Grey, because
the bergamot
is traditionally used. So I don't even use oils. I don't use flavorings.
Wow.
Actually,
Okay.
in the teas themselves, it's coming direct from a dried, orange peel, or
Yeah.
it's that's where the flavoring's coming out.
Mm-hmm. That's really great, because I know like sometimes you buy some tea in the store, like in a box, and it says, "Oh, and other natural flavorings." But what does that mean? I mean, naturally you can get away with a lot, I feel. So who knows what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably when it says natural flavorings, it's
Questionable.
it is very questionable.
So we'll stick with your teas. So, and do you have? Because I know you do some like pop-up shops, things like that. Do you have your website as well too? You sell from, or how could people order tea from you?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, I still have mine till for sure the end of the year. Though we're trying to see if we can extend that, and I am looking for a permanent location.
Perfect.
But yeah, online, my website is in the process of being redone. So maybe that might be, but I do on Etsy, and I've just started some on Amazon, and there's a few other small, and I do a small other sites also.
Okay. And
There.
Etsy, what is the best means you
I
found?
would say Etsy, especially
Etsy,
for
okay.
if you're going for the tea, because it has the whole range of it.
Okay.
I'm just starting on Amazon, so I just have a few of them, and I have just one size there. I'm just trying to test it out before I, go into it full.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great.
makes
Yeah, we'll have to check out. We'll put links to your Etsy site and all of that on this
Okay.
episode too, so they can give your tea a try. And I know that we had a Friendsgiving recently, so you brought over some of your tea, which is really great. So yeah,
Well,
definitely
yeah.
some really good stuff. And it's nice to know that it's you source it like all naturally, and you don't have to worry about anything added in it. So I really love that as well. So I know we just kind of touched upon this. You have a current pop-up shop. So what are some other initiatives you're working on? Or you can talk about the pop-up shop a little bit more too as well.
I am currently I'm finishing another business plan because I had one for my other one, and it's trying to find a more permanent location because eventually I do really want to own a tea room again, and it's just that, and it's just increasing my wholesale and my online sales is basically what I'm trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
getting that all, and eventually having some employees, because it'd be nice to focus a little more on where I'd like to focus and have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe
Go.
have assistants actually processing or kind of putting the tea together or like the blends
And
or ordering.
also that, and if I have a tea room, to have people, there, and I could maybe do.
Oh, yeah, to actually host and. Mhm.
Yeah, cashiering and
Yeah.
doing all that other stuff. And then I could, if there were certain events, I could be doing those there and just making sure that it's run well, and then taking care of the rest that way.
Yeah, that's really great. And I really wanted to touch upon this a bit more. So you are a certified tea specialist, and I think it's amazing that there's only 150 about worldwide. I mean, that's
At the most, yeah.
That's
Very, very,
that's
probably.
huge. You're the only one in Wisconsin, one of 150 worldwide. And I know you recently took a trip to China as well too this year. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that? What that entailed?
All right. That basically, it was probably about 8-ish people in the United States. We were representing the United States tea industry. We had to pay for our airfare, and then the rest was on the Chinese government. We were in 2 world tea conferences where they were really trying to impress us and the other leaders for the tea industries throughout the world. That's anything from England, France, Japan, Russia, and there's Indonesia. There was, I'm trying to think of all the Bangladesh,
Mm-hmm.
India, everywhere. And we've got to see different tea ceremonies. We got to see different tea plantations or tea gardens, and there was a lot of business side to it too. I was had a formal introduction where I talked to people from who had different tea gardens in different countries, to see if I would buy or use their teas. There was where we did policy for the tone for the tea industry for the world. I was part of one for it was a small tea garden thing, and then there was a larger one also. So yeah, I was in the room. I didn't actually physically say anything, but I could have quite possibly had said, put my input in. I was just observing it all and stuff, so it was pretty cool.
That's really great. Yeah, to be part of that, and that's very cool. And tell us more about the actual certification process. What did that look like to get that title?
Title, let's see. Well, I started in 2005 and I got in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason that took as long as it did was they were still producing some of the teaching of it, the different classes.
Oh, okay, so it's really new.
Yeah. Oh, they started in 2004, and I knew that they had it. I just couldn't go that first year, which is fine. I mean, I don't have to, whatever about that. But yeah, went to T101. There was there's a T102, and then those were the first two levels, and then the third level there's like 5 or 6 classes. We went into specifics on different types of teas. Like, there's a specific class just for black tea that was actually 2 days, and that was all these classes are at least 8 hours. And as I said, the black tea was actually 2 8-hour days, and then you're sipping tea that whole time because that's how you develop your palate. And there actually was a class specifically where where it was cupping, so you're developing your palate even more, and that's where they're bringing in teas from countries that and certain teas that aren't normally really exported out of those countries that are consumed locally. And also some of these people were trying to process a little with some teas, and so they bring some really nicer end teas there. And then I know I haven't taken it yet because that's a level 4, and I've only started on one class on a level 4, but there is a class specifically where you taste teas that are bad, so you can understand and see. I mean, they were showing us some some things also there. So it's like, oh, don't go for that. You know what I mean? That's showing some mold. That's showing, all this stuff. So the whole I mean, it's a pretty involved process that we took.
How many levels are there? You said you're starting level 4?
Yeah, I'd started level 4 probably around 2009, 2010. But I think they only have a level 4 at this time. They were going to eventually have it more. But I think like the level 5 is basically going to the different countries and being sponsored, and that's where we went to China, and then so
that's really great. And all of this was in New York that you had to do the training?
Actually, I never took a class actually technically there. I've been to New York, but not for the tea industry. It was in Charleston, South Carolina. I went to Atlanta. I was in Las Vegas.
All over. Okay.
Las Vegas quite a bit, and then San Francisco.
Okay, well, it's nice, kind of all over. So
yeah,
very cool. So I'm guessing a pressing question for listeners would be, okay, what are the health benefits of tea? I know we all know it's good for you. I know we talked briefly earlier about matcha, high in vitamin C. What are some specific health benefits and things that tea brings to your life?
Okay. Well, as I said before, it does have the caffeine, so there's the uplift, but you have the L-theanine, so it keeps you calmer. So
it's the jitters.
Not, yes.
Okay.
There's antioxidants. All tea, and I've heard people say that there's specific teas, but all tea can help you lose weight because it increases your metabolism.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, it's not major. I mean, it's not like all I drink is, tea and then the weight comes off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like anything.
But anything that can help, right?
That's more how it, I mean, and I know if green tea can help with, what is it? With blood pressure, high blood pressure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There is enough studies on that, and it's been pretty consistent for a while for that. I mean, it's nothing super major. I mean, I wouldn't, as I said, anything I say about the health benefits, it's not the cure-all. It won't be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's several cancers. I know with white tea, because I know this because my grandfather died of Alzheimer's, and dementia, and all that.
White tea helps with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just because that always stuck in my head because of my grandfather. With green tea, especially Japanese, they have the ECGCs. Many green teas will have that, but it's more intense in there. But all tea itself is healthy, and all tea usually can help with certain type of cancers. There might be little ones that black tea might be able to help a little better, green tea might be able to, or white. I mean, but they're all tend to be healthy that way and help.
And what type of tea are you drinking right now?
I'm drinking a jade oolong because I have a thing for oolongs, and I like greener oolongs.
Very nice. So do you drink any coffee, or is it all tea?
I've tried coffee several times to try to develop a taste. For me, I've never developed it. You know? I've always tried, but
just more drawn to tea.
Oh, and so that's why I've stopped that probably about 10 years ago. But I used to, every once in a while I've tried the cheap, I've tried the more expensive. I've had
Yeah.
friends like, oh, you won't be able to taste the coffee. Yes.
And you still do?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's an acquired palate. Either you like it or you don't. I know for me, I used to work night shift at a paper mill locally
Okay.
when I was in college. So I had to drink coffee to stay awake. So it's kind of how it started. I love tea as well. I'm really into matchas right now. So, and like green tea. So,
Yeah.
So is there a specific event or experience on your personal journey that led you to where you are today that you'd say?
I would say besides my grandmother, when I was in Seattle, used to live there. That's actually where I started to really taste really good high-end quality loose leaf teas,
Okay.
and that really got me intrigued. And then I would say after that, the really important was doing the Specialty Tea Institute, because I really got a really thorough knowledge on
Okay.
about teas through them, and I would say the Seattle started the passion, and then when I went through the classes through Specialty Tea, I just knew this is what I wanted to do the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's really great. You want to tell us a little bit more about Seattle, what you did with your time there?
It wasn't tea related.
Oh, okay. But that's where you fell in love with tea. Okay.
Yeah, because I've always been pretty adventurous on food and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm there. I mean, Seattle has a huge Asian population, so I used to go to the grocery stores there, and they have, there's a Chinatown there, and I think there's a Japanese. I don't know if it's actual Japanese town, but they have a Japanese tea garden there, and I've gone to those and stuff.
Okay.
And,
Very
and
nice.
there's actually at that time there was a couple tea rooms there, so
Very great. Yeah, so that's where I started, in Seattle, and your grandma.
Yeah, well, yes.
So what are some of your short-term and long-term goals to help improve wellness in women's lives in the community?
Well, I'm more than happy, and I've done before. I've taught the health benefits of tea. I've done even more, and I'm more than happy to do that in conjunction. I want to have a tea room where I can actually have some of those events, and I also would be more than happy to bring in other people who have their different aspects of health and wellness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, too, because I've been in the natural food and gourmet industry for almost 30 years, so
Wow, that's a long time.
it's
Yeah, it's in your blood.
yes, and it
Yeah.
is. It actually is, because my grandmother was my great grandmother on my that one grandmother's side was a herbalist. So
Oh, that's really great.
I mean, it's I guess it's in the blood.
Yeah, definitely.
More than anything.
Well, we'll have to do a workshop together. So, so what does wellness mean to you?
Wellness. I mean, well, tea is an aspect of it. I would say that it is. I actually see it as a very holistic thing. I think how you eat, how if you work out. I think it's mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I think there's so many different aspects to fully be a well person.
Yeah.
And I also see it also too is that sometimes by being well, sometimes you have to, if you eat the cheesecake every once in a while, I don't think it has to be so strict that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand.
In moderation.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good way to look at it, definitely.
So, I don't know.
So I know one ritual you probably do is tea daily, but is there anything else that you do daily or weekly that you'd encourage listeners to incorporate into their lives?
I've been doing yoga for a while, and I do like
Woohoo,
doing
yoga.
Yes, I do. I enjoy it. I think it helps much more. I mean, there's a physical, where it physically helps you to exercise,
it does.
but there's other aspects of it too. And I think sometimes people underestimate how much it does physically help you out too in certain ways, is because they're like, oh, that's easy. You're not, you're not running a mile, but
you get really worked. Yeah, it's.
Oh, yeah.
You get out of breath and you sweat and yeah.
yeah, you can definitely do that. And there's so many different aspects of in yoga itself too.
Oh, that's true. Different types, like
Yeah.
restorative versus like a hot yoga, Bikram.
Yep. And then there's Kundalini. I've have a friend who did that, and I used to go to her classes for a while. Also, besides other stuff.
Very nice.
And actually, I did have friends when I lived in Madison who did laughter yoga.
Really?
Yes.
What is that about? I have not heard of that.
Okay.
Laughter yoga. We have to hear about this.
All right. I had these friends, and actually, that's how I learned about it. And I was like, yeah, I'll go to your classes.
Yeah.
Is that this is started in India, and
Okay.
it's where you sometimes have to fake laugh because your body doesn't realize that you're getting the health benefits of it, and it's you do these like ho 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 hee hee, and they just act really sometimes silly, and
Okay.
sometimes it's forced, especially in the beginning, but yeah, it's been a while. So I mean, they were nurses who were trying to bring it to the Madison area. A bit ago. Gosh, that's probably over 10 years ago. So.
That's really cool. Did you find it helpful? Like personally, did you really like it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, it was really good for the lungs and stuff because,
Okay.
you're breathing. It's
And the abs, because when you laugh, you tend to.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's also really good for people who maybe can't do a lot of some of the actual physical stretches too. Is because at least it's you're not being as physically active that way. It's
You do it from a chair, right?
oh yeah,
Like sitting
you can
down.
do,
Okay.
and that like anything with yoga is they say if you can't sit this one out or if you modify it, it's
Yeah.
totally acceptable.
At least they use your breath work. That's like half of it. Or,
Oh yeah, there's a
most
lot
important.
of breath work, and I
Yeah.
think that's really where it's more focused on is that
Okay.
too.
Did you feel happier after too?
Actually, kind of yeah, because
Okay.
even though sometimes you were like, and that's part of it too, is sometimes you fake laughing, but eventually most of the time you end up laughing and stuff anyways because it's kind of hard
That's really
not
cool. Yeah.
to. So it was fun.
And I don't know if I mentioned that I'm getting certified right now. I'm in the $200 yoga training. Yeah, I don't think we talked about that. But my instructor did say that they're in like yoga practice, if you have kind of like a soft smile on your face, or like in a meditative state, that can help bring like joy into your life. And it's just kind of interesting that, yeah, even if you're not happy at that moment, if you smile, how can you not be happy from smiling? So it's kind of neat, how like a smile is contagious, they say. So it's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know. As I said, I'm not the yoga expert. I just when my friends are doing things like,
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really great ritual. So yoga and tea.
Why not? Yeah.
A good rule to live by. So what is a personal mantra or theme song that kind of gets you going to start your day or kind of redirects your mind to a good mindset?
Well, I don't have a full mantra. I wish I should because the yoga and that they're very into doing that stuff. I do have a quote that I actually really like, and this is funny thing is this is from Judy Garland, but I always like it's always be a first-rate version of yourself and not a second-rate version of someone else, because I think it's always important to be the best you that you can be.
Yeah.
Versus trying to imitate somebody else, because you're not going to be as they're going to be the best version of themselves and you're going to be the best version of yourself, and I guess that's how
Yeah, I really like that. And I like Judy Garland too. So so very great. So are there any last minute tea tips or things you'd like to tell listeners?
let's see, tea itself, I don't know, I guess I wish a little more people were a little more open to trying a really good high-end quality tea and just actually taste it and taking the time to properly taste it, because I think sometimes it's I guess I see a lot of mindfulness naturally coming from it because it's a little slower,
like sipping it. Yeah.
and stuff, so I don't know.
I like that. Yeah, mindfulness naturally from enjoying
Yeah.
tea. Mm-hmm.
I see it how it really works, and that would be wellness in and of itself, because if you're mindfulness, that's going to make you a little more of a healthier person, I think, or bring
Yeah.
wellness into your life more.
Yeah, mindfulness is huge right now, and it's really good to be conscious of what you're consuming. And I think, if you kind of slow down a bit, really enjoy the flavors of the tea, that's a good practice, definitely. So how can listeners reach you?
All right. Well, Well, you could reach me through my website, cultivatetaste.com. You can also use my email. It's info@cultivatetaste.com. And you can always go to the Etsy site, and it should be Cultivate Taste. And I trying to remember if it's Cultivate Taste or is the Cultivate Taste one on there. I
Okay, we
believe.
can add a link to this
Yes.
episode, and yeah, they can check it out.
So I don't have that fully here right
Okay,
now.
well, that's perfect. Yeah, so we'll have all the links already to reach you. And thank you again so much for talking all about tea today. I learned a lot, very interesting, a lot of things I didn't know about tea. I hope listeners enjoyed too. So thanks again so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you taking this time and actually letting me be interviewed. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Well, everybody have a great day, and thanks again for listening.